Hey guys, I just want to make a short video on my recent Blast City restoration project. So I had an old Sega Blast City arcade machine that I wanted to restore because it was all dirty and I just wanted to clean up really well. And also while I was doing it, I figured I would recap everything. So I did a project on that. I went in and recapped all the power supply and the audio card capacitors, and I also decided that I was going to recap the monitor chassis as well. So this is just a video documenting what I did and various things that I went through, like what went right and what went wrong. As you can see in these first few pictures, I'm slowly taking apart the arcade. I took out the monitor, and it's very heavy actually, so you may need 2 people to take it out. So before you do any of this, you want to properly follow how to safely discharge your CRT monitors, because they actually carry a lot of charge and it can be very dangerous if you don't do the right thing, and you can really easily get yourself electrocuted, so you don't want to do that. So make sure you're following the safety procedures. That there's a lot of videos on how to do it, so make sure you do that first. It's really heavy.
I'm gonna have to get this board out and then do the recapping. And it's pretty filthy back here. I don't know if you can tell from this video, but you can see all this grime everywhere. So hopefully I'll be able to clean some of that. And it also needs to fix convergence tapes. See around here, like these tapes. It's because something's wrong with the monitor. There's convergence in the corner. And like these convergence tapes down here. Here, yeah. So I'm gonna have to fix them because some of the corners are not very good. I've already discharged the monitor, but I still don't want to get near that thing. But yeah, if you want to work with these monitors, make sure you carefully follow the instructions on how to discharge these things, because they carry a lot of volt, and they apparently also build up voltage on their own, even if you're not plugging it in. So after you discharge it, it can still build up voltage again. I think inside here, I'm going to do a thorough cleaning now of everything inside, so it won't smell so much anymore. And also, you can tell that over here there's some cracks. So here too, I'm gonna have to fix that up. Now I got my bezel all cleaned up now. I use some simple green on it, washed down real nice. Now it looks nice and shiny. Now I wanted you to take a look at the back here, what I did to it. So before, you see around here, the bezels, there was a foam, protective foam for the bezel against the monitor, right? So given that this is so old that the foam was naturally just falling apart, you touch it and it'll just come off. So after it was like cleaning it, it was just completely destroyed. So what I did was I just took it all off, and then I bought some window seal, something like this, real cheap, get it at Lowe's. Just stuck it right on here, so now you still have this protective foam thing here, so when I close up the bezel later against the monitor, like, you'll still have this protection, so you don't have the plastic touching your monitor. So I think that's a good alternative. Now the first thing I'm going to do is try to clean up the power supply, which I pulled from the bottom of the cab. You see these holes where the screws are. This one actually is really hard to get off, and I actually had to kind of strip the screw that was on there. So I bought some new ones to replace that, but the screws can be a little tough to undo. But you gotta undo all these screws, and then you can just push it right out. Recap. So I think I'm gonna have to take this casing off, take off these screws, and then open it up so I can get to the insides of it, so I can clean it up, and then I'll do the recapping on the PCBs inside of it. So now I got the top off. It's pretty easy, then the screw will come off. Actually, there's missing one tiny screw in the bottom, but that's okay. So now let's take a look at inside. So It doesn't look too bad. I mean, it doesn't look as dusty as I've seen some people's. But you can see it's still pretty dirty. I'm gonna have to clean this up. So I'll have to take this out and then do cleaning on all this. So you can see these two parts to it. I think this one's the soundboard, and this one's actually the power itself. So I'll start out by removing the soundboard and then doing a cleaning and recapping on this one first. Looks a little simpler. Also a lot more caps on the power one. I'll do that next. Alright, now I have this soundboard removed and all cleaned. So it's looking nice and clean, front and back. Let it dry out a little bit, then I'm gonna start the recapping process. Now I got my recap kits from arcadepartsandrepair.com. So they sell nice packets and they're not very expensive either, so just pick them up. This one's for the sound amp, this one's for the PSU, so we'll be starting with this one. Just aside for a second. Alright, here we are. All new capacitors replaced, and all the old ones I dumped out. So it came with like these nice instructions. So what I did was I would cross out each one that I do as I go along and do them, so I don't get messed up. And this solder work is pretty good for desoldering the current capacitors. It took a little, like, you gotta be careful with it to get the old ones off. So all that's done. It's looking good. Gonna put it back together. Alright, so now the soundboard is all done. Put it back in place. I put the heatsink back on. So for the heatsink, I actually stuck a little extra CPU coolant gel in there because I had some extra left over. I don't know. It seemed like there was some gel in there before, so who knows. But yeah, it looks good. It's all clean. New caps. Now it's time to work on the power supply. So we'll take that apart and do a little bit of cleaning. We'll start the recapping. So I removed the outside metal chassis casing here. These are just like small screws. You take them off. Also the side, you see that there's screws going into these. It's acting as a heat sink, so you gotta take those off. So it looks like there was some compound they put on here. So I'll probably just add some more of my own compound when I'm ready to put it back together. But looking at this, it's not too dirty, but it is a little bit dirty. So I'm gonna clean it out. Yeah, and then recap it. So now I've thoroughly cleaned out the PCBs. Everything's nice and clean now. I washed it, now it's dried. I'm gonna start to replace the capacitors with the kit over here. So with this one, there was some of this glue stuff that was on here, right? So that was kind of annoying. And I had a kind of peel that a little bit to get it off. But other than that, wasn't too hard to get off. But the other thing I noticed is that you see this big fat capacitor here. This one was a 200 volts, 820 microfarad giant capacitor here. This one actually didn't come with a kit, so I'm gonna have to order that one separately. I think I can order all the different kinds of capacitors off New York capacitors.com that I've been using to just get a bunch of other capacitors, because I bought a bunch of other capacitors for the monitor itself because I didn't realize there was actually already a kit for the monitor. So I'm gonna try to get the rest of these capacitors done and then leave this one and order that and any other ones that I might still need for my monitor capacitors that I'm gonna replace, so I can just order them all at once because I still have to pay for shipping. So that's one thing to be on the lookout for. So it doesn't actually have the kit doesn't actually have all the capacitors replaced, every one of them. All right, now I got the new one up on here. And also remember, guys, You want to make sure you're paying attention to the polarity of your capacitors when you're installing it. Make sure you're also installing in the right direction, because there is a polarity on the capacitors, unless it's like specifically like a bipolar one. But you'll see how on like the side here, you'll see there's a strip here that's always facing this way. So you want to make sure they're keeping them aligned. It's also marked on the boards too, like which way this side should be. I think it's the negative side. So pay attention when you're doing this. Alright, so I've managed to unhook all the wires and get the CRT monitor PCB out of the chassis. So, you can see it's pretty dirty. I'm gonna clean this up, let it dry. Alright, this is what it looks like without the PCB sitting in the back. This is the yoke. I'm gonna have to clean this yoke up and then clean the insides of it and put on some convergence tape. I'm also gonna wash this entire monitor because it's pretty filthy. Alright, now we got the yoke off and I've gone and cleaned it. We'll be able to wash this monitor of all the gunk from it. So you see I took the yoke off, and then we'll also have to put on the convergence tapes around here. The ones before were like disintegrating, they were pretty much falling off, which is probably explains why I had convergence issues on the monitor. So I got some new tapes and I'll be able to put them on after I clean this off. So here's a look at the cleaned yoke pieces. You see how clean these are? They were freaking covered with gunk before. So now I washed them all nice and clean. So I'm just letting it dry here for now. See, the inside's all, like I got all that. There's still a little bit in the behind there, but that's okay. It's like, you can't get it completely clean, but it's fine, it's good enough. So the inside's nice and clean. I got all the pieces of the old convergence tapes that used to be stuck in there. So now it's nice and clean in there, and I can put it back when it's all ready. So I took the monitor outside and I used some simple green, sprayed all over it, and then hosed the whole thing down. So now, even the underside, I tilted it on the side, you can see it's all nice and clean. It was pretty filthy and disgusting before. Those things smell like an ashtray. So now it's nice and clean. I'll let it dry. Yeah, the backside, I got it all nice and clean. You can see the tube, so it's pretty nice. I'm pretty satisfied with it. So I sprayed everything down with simple green, inside and out. Then I went and hosed everything down. See the inside of the control panel, I cleaned everything out. It's much cleaner now. Even though I did clean it once before, now it's like, you can see all the gunk is out and it doesn't smell so bad anymore. So in here too, all these cables and wiring, I sprayed it all down. I actually sprayed it down again, and I'll probably go and then hose it down one more time and let it dry. So inside I wiped everything down. All that gunk got all of it out. So ideally it won't smell like smoke anymore, but it's still like a hint of smoke, but I don't think you can even get that out, but it's fine, you can't really detect it, so. Yeah, I took the back panel out to clean everything back here. So, it's looking pretty good. Once it's dry, then I'll be ready to be put back together again. You can see I put some Bondo over here for these small minor cracks on the chassis here. And you'll find that on these machines, you'll see a lot of them have some cracks in it. Maybe from mishandling of them, you'll see them kind of weakening, so putting Bondo on it will ensure that it stays nice and strong. So this side had a little bigger crack, and also fill that in. After this Bondo dries, I'm gonna sand it down, then it'll be nice.
So unfortunately, after I did the recapping on my monitor chassis, I actually had to replace a lot of capacitors, like up to 70 or so. And I turned the monitor back on and it actually didn't turn on and it wasn't working. So I did a lot of debugging on what I did right and what I did wrong, seeing if any capacitors are still not working. So I did the best that I could, and I wasn't able to get it fully functional. I had it turned on for maybe like 5 minutes or so, but then it was shut off, so there's something wrong with the high voltage. And I actually learned a lot about how the high voltage and the triggers are working on these kind of monitors, so it was a good learning process, but ultimately I was unable to get it working, unfortunately. So I had to send it in for professionally getting it done and fixed. So I sent it to P&L Videos and did an excellent job and returned it to me pretty quick. And I finally got it working again and put it back in, and you can see the results here. Pretty laborious project I decided to undertake, and I'm glad I did it though, because it was a good learning process. So if you're thinking about doing this, just do all the research you can, and I hope my video was able to help you your own projects, and so you can avoid some of the pitfalls that I may not have gone through. So hopefully it'll help you. And I am getting actually 2 Astro City cabs coming in, and I'm pretty excited to get them in. And when they come in, I'll probably do a video on that too. I want to hook them up as a head setup, and maybe I'll clean them out too. We'll see. If they're too dirty, then maybe I'll do another refurbish on them. I probably won't fix the monitors on them. There's nothing wrong with them because the monitors are tricky. So, but I may clean them. So we'll see. Maybe in a future video. So look forward to that. So thanks for watching, and I hope you like and subscribe to this channel if you like what you see, and look forward to more videos.